and I think this is important for people to understand. What you see, and actually I have a real life example on the next slide. So I think you'll find this really interesting, because I literally, like, this took me a couple of years to like truly grasp for myself, because I don't know why, but anyway, what happened? So imagine you're running a Facebook campaign or a TikTok campaign. So actually, I'll go back. Yeah. So this is actually a real report from Facebook, where you can see the amount spent here. So I don't know, for this store, we're spending, here we were spending between 1 to 2K a day, and then it kind of went down. And in August, we were spending between $500 and a K per day on Facebook. This is Facebook specifically. So if you're a Facebook business manager, if you go under reports, you can create this, and it just takes your entire ad manager, and it reports the amount spent and then the ROAS for all of your campaigns. So this is the average across the entire account for that store. It's very helpful. Again, I have a separate video where I just talk about how to think about Facebook reporting and whatnot. But you see that the ROAS it's very volatile. Facebook only got worse, unfortunately. But again, this is the same with TikTok. This is the same with Google Ads. You'll just have a ROAS for any paid channel that you're running. And the ROAS is fluctuating, right? I mean, some days we're like at a 1, then some days like here we're at like almost like at a 4. And I think we averaged out just above a 2. I mean, I don't remember exactly for this for this thing, but like it was profitable, and I know the break-even ROAS for this product is a 2. So we were slightly above a 2. So we were just on the edge of making profit. Again, for Facebook, again, this store ran like a bunch of other channels. Like we're actually, the Google is way bigger. We're doing TikTok, Snapchat, affiliate, email, organic, you name it. But for Facebook, we see that. Why I drew those blue lines, so that's actually that was me, not Facebook reports, is to show you that there's actually this interesting inverse relationship between spend and ROAS, right? So we spend more, our ROAS drops. We spend less, our ROAS goes up. And you just see it like there's an inverse relationship. And if you zoom out, you see it even on a bigger scale. And that's what I was actually referring to. Like you don't really notice that unless you spend a lot across a lot of stores and you notice those patterns. But what happens is Facebook works on an auction basis, right? I think most people know you, and I know they have like different settings, but on the most like simplified fundamental level, when you launch a creative on Facebook, right, you're obviously competing with other advertisers for that space, right? For your potential customers who are scrolling through their feed, right? And obviously there's some sort of auction. Again, I think it's a bit complicated if you actually go deep into like how the Facebook algorithm works. There's some sort of auction, and the winner obviously gets that spot, right? And now if you spend more and more and more, right, you're exhausting the potential like target audience that might be interested in your product, right? And you're essentially becoming less and less efficient in this auction because you're buying just overpriced. You're just pushing the envelope of your target audience, and you're like, if you force the budget higher, right? Like if we would like fucking like force the budget to like 5K a day and be like, I don't know, we don't care. We would just be forcing Facebook to show our ad to people who really don't want our product, right? Or they're just not interested. It's just not the demographic or whatever. Their interests are different, whatever it might be. And sure, we would be winning that auction, but like we would just be winning at the cost of paying Facebook more and more and more for each impression, right? Anyway, maybe that was useful, but that's what I noticed. And the point that I was actually trying to make, is when you test a product, right, you want those fluctuations to be above your break even, right? So this is actually not what you want to see, right? So here we're like on the brink of profitability with the store. Again, it's also a very specific time period. I think that's why I chose it. This was already a while back, but why I chose it is to show you that we are spending money, so we are profitable, but we're just above our break-even ROAS, right? And like that means like half the days we're actually losing money. Like literally all those days here, we're straight up burning cash. But then the days here, we're making back the money and then making a little bit on top, right? But that's obviously like stressful to say the least, but also just not where you want to be ideally. So what you ideally want to see when you're testing a product is the ROAS to fluctuate, like again, It's going to fluctuate. There's no question around that. But that even on your worst days, and I think this is pretty obvious, you want to be above your break-even ROAS. Now, why do you need this for a successful product test? It is because, and I just mentioned this before, so the more you scale, the more there's going to be downwards pressure on your ROAS, right? If you're just spending like here 1-2K a day on Facebook, and you have a real winner, right? You're going to manage to maybe make a 3, 4, 5, 6 ROAS, right, consistently. But if you want to 10x that, right, and spend 20K a day on whatever channel, again, you're just going to force the algorithm to show this ad to so many people that you're going to exhaust really like the market, not the market size, but just again the amount of people you can show your ad in that given time period who might be interested in your product, who haven't already bought the product or seen something similar, decide not to buy it, right? So there will be this downwards pressure in terms of scaling, right? It's just the fundamental thing. I think it's like it almost applies to like any business, right? Like you can't just spend unlimited marketing dollars. You're always there's some ceiling, and the closer you get to that ceiling, the harder it gets, obviously. So you should keep that in mind, right? And that's why you need to be comfortably above break-even ROAS with the test, because you need to expect and anticipate that downwards pressure. Now, the good thing is that when you're running a test, right, you have set up hopefully those pillars, right, to work at the bare minimum, to be honest. Like what I also wanted to actually, like a point I wanted to make here, right, is that they all need to work. They need to be functional, but you don't spend a month building a product page of a product you're testing, right? Like just have a solid template. And I'm going to do another video explaining to what extent I think you should like really spend time, thinking about those things and like really the effort that you need to put in to just run a test. It needs to work, right? But don't those tires are not like, it's not the engine, right? You're just putting on the tires, like they're replaceable, and the speed is also really important. And that's why if you find a successful product like this, you will be able to then improve those pillars. You'll then go back and then improve your product page, right? After you run the test and you see, okay, it's hovering around the 3x ROAS. Great. I'm going to improve all those pillars, and that will improve your ROAS as well, right? So you have those two opposing forces, let's call it like that are going to be pushing against each other. And that's why if you start on average with a 3x ROAS, you then start scaling, the ROAS drops, but then you improve the pillars and then increases, and then you can grow a business where, again, you're making, I don't know, like 200-300K a month, like I showed you with our stores, but also, of course, much more. But that'll also take time, and then you need to actually build the business around it. But yeah. So it's already 30 minutes into the video. What I wanted to actually discuss is now how to run the test, but I will do that in the next section. All right, so I talked a lot already about the funnel, the entire funnel of how you can find great products for you to add to your existing Shopify store, to any new store that you're thinking of launching, right? How you do the research, how you go through the entire Excel of actually determining and quantifying what a successful product might be, right? Which products have a high potential to be your next high ROAS product. I talked about, I tried to give you a good overview with how you need to test in batches, what kind of success and failure rates might look like for you to actually succeed, right, in the long term, and what you should plan in terms of cost and in terms of also upside that you can expect with running the tests, right? And I think we covered a lot of ground with some solid analogies, which you hopefully liked. And again, thinking in terms of how many products you need to test to actually get the data that you need to actually find products consistently over and over again that are positive ROAS, and that will, you will be able to use to actually build a solid Shopify store and ultimately business around. Hey, before you bounce, consider subscribing to our channel, but only if you've actually enjoyed the video and found at least a few valuable things for your Shopify store. Also, check out our free Shopify app, Trackidex. We have a link in the description below. We're developing new features literally every day, and we're also excited to actually hear your feedback on some of the next features we should develop. Thank you, and I'll see you in the next video.